I don't remember exactly when I stopped being seen. It wasn't one moment, one fight, one holiday skipped. It was quieter than that, like a light dimming slowly over years, flickering in the background while everyone else took center stage. But I do remember the envelope. It was on the kitchen table. Not hidden, not even addressed, just sitting there, as if daring me to read it. My name was nowhere on it, but I recognized the handwriting. My mother's looping cursive. The first page was a receipt. Final payment, Ivy and Matthew. Wedding deposit, the venue, 1,000 lilies, champagne towers, imported linens. It was all there, down to the last fondant swirl on the cake. Paid in full, but the account number at the bottom, it was mine. I had opened that savings account when I was 16. Every weekend shift at the bookstore, every holiday I worked while Ivy posted her sunlit brunches on Instagram. It all went into that account. It was supposed to be for grad school, a down payment, maybe an escape hatch. And now? It had paid for her wedding. I didn't say anything that day. I didn't scream or cry or confront anyone in the moment. I just stared at that receipt while the coffee brewed behind me, its sputtering gurgle drowning in the tight ringing in my ears. I took the envelope, quietly, folded it in half, placed it in the back of my notebook, and I left. I think my mother said something as I stepped out. Maybe something about needing my opinion on invitations. But I was already down the steps, already stepping into the kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from something colder. I kept showing up after that. Not because I forgave them, but because I needed time to see how far the erasure would go. It was little things at first. They didn't ask me to help plan, but they still expected me to pay for the bridal shower venue. They didn't ask what dress I'd wear, but assumed I'd be around to help Ivy into hers. And when Ivy showed off her wedding shoes, stilettos I knew cost more than a month of rent, she looked at me and said, "Aren't they gorgeous?" "Worth every penny, literally," she laughed, and Mom laughed with her. I didn't. I drove home that night in silence, my fingers cold on the steering wheel, though it was spring. The air smelled like flowers and rain and resentment. And I realized something strange. I wasn't even angry. Not in the way people expect. I felt hollow, like I had spent so long trying to be useful that I had forgotten how to be loved. The next day I started packing, not to move out. I already lived alone. But to create distance. Emotional, financial, spiritual distance. I boxed up their wedding invitation when it arrived, one of those heavy embossed ones that smells like fake roses and entitlement. I didn't throw it away. I just didn't open it. I started keeping the invitation in the drawer under my kettle. Not hidden, not displayed, just tucked between old manuals and receipts I never needed but never threw away. That felt appropriate. It's strange what you begin to notice when you're no longer pretending to belong. I started observing them, like a guest in someone else's home. Except the home was made of blood ties and birthday memories, and I was the only one without a seat at the table. They still messaged me, of course. Ivy sent Pinterest links for color palette ideas, even though I wasn't in the wedding party. Mom texted me about my dress size. "I need your measurements for the family photo outfits." I read the message and locked my phone. She didn't ask if I even wanted to be in the photo. Just assumed I'd show up and smile in the background, like always. Dad was the only one who noticed something. We were sitting on the porch one afternoon, him nursing a glass of iced tea, me pretending not to. Rehearse goodbyes in my head. The cicadas were loud that day. Or maybe the silence between us was louder. He asked, "You okay, kid?" It took everything in me not to laugh. Not a joyful laugh, but the kind that cracks in the center, brittle and exhausted. "I'm fine," I said, which is the language of daughters who've learned not to cause trouble. He looked at me the way someone might look at a broken light switch, unsure what went wrong, but too tired to fix it. A week before the wedding, Ivy posted a reel. Behind-the-scenes footage of her bachelorette weekend. Glitter. Veuve Clicquot. Matching robes with bride tribe stitched in cursive across their backs. Everyone was tagged. Everyone but me. It wasn't just that I wasn't there. It was that no one even noticed I wasn't. I kept watching the reel on loop, like pressing a bruise just to remember it hurts. Then came the voicemail. Mom, again. Hey, sweetheart. Just confirming your meal preference for the reception. I'm putting you down for chicken, okay? Oh, and can you come early to help steam the bridesmaid dresses? Ivy's maid of honor is a little overwhelmed. I stared at the ceiling of my tiny apartment, the paint peeling in corners, the old fan, slicing the air above me like a ticking clock. Meal preference, help, no thank yous. No apology for draining my account. No acknowledgement that this wasn't generosity. It was theft, hidden behind expectation. That night, I took out the wedding invitation. I lit a single candle in the center of my kitchen table. The only light. In the room. Then slowly, I opened the envelope. It was heavy, ivory, embossed in gold. The kind of thing that tries to make itself matter more than it does. Inside was a note that said, "To our dearest family. Thank you for making this dream possible." There was no name, no signature, no space for me. So I took a pen, wrote one word on the back of the card, and slid it back into the envelope. Then, I placed it by the door, ready for the mailbox in the morning. The word I wrote? Declined. Not, can't, attend. Not, sorry, I'll miss it. Just one quiet refusal. It felt small, but it felt like mine. I didn't send a gift. I didn't text a reason. I just stopped answering the calls. And that was the first time in years that I felt a breath go all the way down to my ribs. Would you like me to continue with part 3, where the wedding day unfolds without her, and the silence begins to echo in the family's dynamic? The morning of Ivy's wedding was gray. Not stormy, just indifferent. A soft dullness that hung over the city like a shrug. I woke without an alarm, the way people do on days that no longer hold them. No one texted. No one asked where I was. I had disappeared exactly the way they had trained me to. Politely, wordlessly, behind a curtain of being the good one. I boiled water for tea. Earl Grey, as always. The hum of the kettle was the only sound in the apartment. I didn't put on music. I didn't check social media. I didn't wear anything special. Just an old sweater and socks with holes in the toes. I wasn't grieving. I wasn't angry. I was just free. By noon, I imagined the ceremony had started. I pictured Ivy walking down the aisle, not in a mean way, just habit. The way you mentally rehearse a memory you never made. Her bouquet probably cost more than my entire month's rent. I imagined Mom crying, Dad clapping, someone filming for Instagram stories. And somewhere behind them, an empty seat with a place card that said my name. Or maybe they had removed it already. Maybe they told people I was sick, or had to work. That was always the family. Specialty. Excuses that made them feel better. Around 1 p.m., I took a walk. The streets were quiet. A few couples passed by in formal wear, maybe heading to weddings of their own. I looked at them the way you look at people in a snow globe, delicate, glass-contained, far away. I ended up at a secondhand bookstore on 6th Avenue. It smelled like yellowed pages and old hopes, the kind of place no one rushes you. I ran my fingers along the spines of books I couldn't afford in college. I bought one, a tattered poetry collection with a broken spine. The cashier smiled and said, "Looks like it's been waiting for you." And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. That night, I came home to 5 missed calls. 2 from Mom. 1 from Dad. 2 from Ivy. No voicemails. Just that quiet panic of people realizing something's changed and they're not in control of it. I didn't call back. I didn't delete the messages either. I let them sit, like unwashed dishes, reminders that I didn't have to clean up anymore. The next morning, I opened Instagram. Ivy had posted a wedding photo carousel. Her caption was 5 paragraphs long. She tagged everyone, bridesmaids, caterers, makeup artists, even the floral designer. There were thanks. So many thanks. And then buried halfway through, to all our loved ones who supported us emotionally and financially, you made this possible. No tag, no name. Just a ghost credit. I didn't comment. I didn't like. I didn't even flinch. I just sat there, holding my tea, warm fingers wrapped around the mug, watching them celebrate a kingdom built with my brick and bone. That was the day I removed our family group chat from my phone's home screen. Didn't leave it, just moved it. A quiet boundary, one they'd never notice, but one I'd feel every time I opened my phone. The first apology came on the 4th day, if you could even call it that. It was a message from Ivy, sent at 11:47 p.m. Late enough to feel accidental, early enough to still be seen. Heard you didn't come. Hope everything's okay. That was it. No question mark, no emoji. Just a casual sentence tossed out like a paper airplane in the dark. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted her to feel punished, but because it felt like replying would confirm I still belonged. And I didn't, not really. I hadn't, for a long time. Mom's call came 2 days later, straight to voicemail. We were surprised you weren't there, sweetheart. Ivy was a bit hurt. I know things have been tense, but this was her big day. You could have at least said something. At least. As if I hadn't already given everything I wasn't asked for. I saved the voicemail, then deleted it from my notifications. I didn't need it buzzing in my pocket like guilt. I just needed it there, for me, for proof. The strangest part was how little anyone said the truth out loud. No one asked about the money. No one mentioned the account. No one said, we know what we did. They just danced around it, the way people do when they're not sorry, just uncomfortable. The wedding photos trickled in like a leak from the ceiling, one after another, tagged and reshared. Ivy in her dress, Dad adjusting her veil, Mom laughing in that way she only laughs when guests are watching. In one photo, there's a wide group shot, everyone in pastels and cream. In the far left, there's an empty spot beside the flower girl, just enough space for a person, just enough space for me. I started saying no to things after that. No to Sunday dinners. No to Ivy's request for help, editing honeymoon vlogs. No to Mom's invitation to come by and see the gift haul. The power in no isn't loud. It doesn't slam doors or shout. It just closes the window quietly and leaves you on the other side. Instead, I said yes to myself. I started reworking my budget. Canceled the auto payments for things I used to cover. The family Netflix, the cell phone plan that Mom still used from when I set it up after college. I didn't announce it. I just stopped. I let the silence be the message. And when Mom called, breathless. Is something wrong with the card? I tried logging into the account and I simply said, oh, that's not mine anymore. Then I asked her how Ivy was. She said they were planning a second honeymoon. Bali, maybe. I said, that's nice, and let the quiet stretch like warm wax. That weekend, I finally did something I'd put off for years. I made an appointment with a leasing agent. A new building. One with wide windows and hardwood floors and no memories in the walls. The agent handed me a pen and asked if I was ready to sign. I didn't even hesitate. For the first time, I wasn't choosing out of desperation. I was choosing out of refusal. The new apartment was on the second floor of a corner building. It had creaky wooden stairs and windows that let in too much light in the morning. But I liked that. I wanted light now, not perfection. I moved everything myself. A couple of boxes, my chipped coffee mugs, the worn-out bookshelf that had followed me since college. I didn't ask for help. No one offered. No one even knew. There was a freedom in that, in no longer needing to announce myself to prove I existed in the family group chat. I wasn't erased. I just stopped writing my name on the walls. I hung. The only photo I kept, not of them, but of me. A Polaroid I took once in a cafe mirror. No smile, no posing. Just a quiet face, tired eyes, and morning light through my hair. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to shrink it with guilt. They still messaged occasionally. Ivy once sent me a reel of her honeymoon. Palm trees, cocktails, the same wide smile she always wore when she knew the world was watching. No caption, just vibes. I left it on scene. Then Dad texted, "Hope you're doing okay. Your mother's been asking if you'll come by soon." I stared at that message for a long time. I remembered all the times I'd gone by before, bringing groceries when they were short on cash, fixing their Wi-Fi, covering dinner when Ivy forgot her wallet. All of it, silent, expected. Now they missed me, not for who I was, but for what I provided. I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a walk to the cafe near my new place. The barista was learning my name, which felt oddly intimate. I sat near the window, the one with the chipped corner and the soft afternoon sun, and I opened the notebook I'd been carrying since the day I saw the receipt. The envelope was still there, folded in the back, crinkled at the corners. I took it out and looked at it. Not with anger, not even sadness. Just recognition. Like spotting a scar you don't try to cover anymore. Then I wrote something new. Not a message. Not a letter. Just a sentence that had been circling my mind for weeks now. It wasn't mine to give, but they took it anyway. And beneath it, so now, I take myself back. That night, I turned off my phone completely. No more notifications, no buzzing guilt. Just the quiet of my new place, and the rain beginning to fall outside like the start of a softer season. I sat on the floor, with a blanket, sipping tea, and realized I didn't miss them. I missed who I thought they were. That version never existed. It was a Saturday when she showed up. Ivy, on my doorstep. No warning, no call. Just her standing there, clutching a gift bag like a hostage. Her makeup too perfect for casual. Her hair, still in its polished, newlywed waves, but her eyes, they looked uncertain. The kind of look people wear when they're not sure if they're the villain or the victim. I left the door half open, my fingers resting on the edge, not inviting, not closing. "Hey," she said. "Can I come in?" I paused, then stepped aside. She walked in like someone who didn't remember the layout, looking around too much, too slowly. She placed the gift bag on the kitchen counter like it was a peace treaty she wasn't sure I'd accept. "I thought I'd bring you something. Just a little, thank you." She didn't say what for. She didn't have to. We both knew. I didn't touch the bag. Instead, I poured myself tea and asked, "So, how's married life?" She smiled, the kind of smile that looked like it cost effort. "Good. He's great. We're planning to start a podcast, actually, about relationships." I nodded, quietly amused. "Sounds like you'll have a lot to say." There was a beat of silence. Her fingers toyed with the sleeve of her blouse. She looked at the floor. Then, "I know you're upset. I didn't know it was your savings. Mom said it was family money. She made it sound like you had helped set it aside for me like a gift. I blinked. A gift? I stared at her, letting the silence settle into the cracks. Did you ask where the money came from? She hesitated. No. I guess I didn't think. You didn't need to. I cut in. You never have to think about how things are paid. 4. You just get handed keys and rooms and weddings. I was the one who figured out how to stretch grocery money in college while you posted spa selfies. The edge in my voice surprised me. Not rage, just tired honesty. The kind that feels like truth spoken after holding your breath for years. Ivy looked down. For once, she didn't have a response ready. No defense. Just silence. I didn't mean to take from you, she said, barely above a whisper. But you did, I replied, and you never gave me a choice. I could see it land, not sharply, but like a slow bruise forming. Her face didn't contort. She didn't cry. She just stood there, absorbing it like someone realizing they walked into a room with no exit. She reached for the gift bag. It's not much. Just some things I thought you'd like. I didn't come to make anything worse. I didn't take it. Leave it, I said. Or don't. That's up to you, she nodded. And left it. Then turned to go. At the door, she paused. Are you ever going to come back? I met her eyes. Calm. Clear. To what? She didn't answer. Just gave me that same broken smile and walked out. When the door clicked shut, I stood for a long time, not triumphant, not angry, just still. Later that evening, I opened the bag. Inside, a candle, a bookstore gift card, and a framed photo of us as kids, one I hadn't seen in years. We were sitting on the porch, both barefoot, popsicles in our hands. Ivy's mouth was open. Mid-laugh, mine was closed, watching. I stared at it for a long time. Then I placed it face down in the drawer beneath the kettle, right beside the wedding invitation. It came in the mail this time, a pale blue envelope with gold trim. Trying hard to look gentle, trying harder to look expensive. Inside was an invitation. Not a wedding this time. A family dinner. Celebrating new beginnings, it said. Knew what it was. A soft attempt to rewind. To gather us around a table, pass the food, pass the blame, and pretend nothing had been taken. That I hadn't quietly absented myself like a breath no one realized had been holding them up. The dinner was set for next Sunday at the house. Not my house. Not anymore. I held the envelope for a long time, feeling its weight. Not from the cardstock, but from the memory of every room in that place where I had once made myself smaller. Every thankless ride, every chore, every unacknowledged gesture that had kept their lives moving without ever making mine feel still. I didn't RSVP. I didn't throw it away either. I tucked it under my tea towel drawer. A new ritual I seemed to be forming. That weekend, I stayed home. On Sunday at 6 p.m., while they probably poured wine over a polished table and passed dishes with too much salt and too little honesty, I sat on my windowsill. The city below was quiet. It had just rained. The air smelled like something had been rinsed clean. I curled my legs under me and opened the poetry book I bought weeks ago. The spine still cracked every time I turned a page. It felt like it had lived a life before me, one I didn't need to apologize for. At 7:12 p.m., my phone buzzed, a message from Dad. We missed you tonight. Hope you're okay. No guilt, no lecture, just a sentence that wasn't quite a question. I appreciated that. I didn't respond right away. I didn't have anything unkind to say, and nothing kind that would be honest. Instead, I closed my book and made tea. It was funny, really. I used to think love meant bending, shrinking, offering, proving. Now I was learning that love could also mean space. That choosing yourself might not always feel good, but it feels clean. like a window finally opened in a stale room. 2 days later, I got a letter, a real one, in Dad's handwriting. Inside, "You were right, about more than we said. I hope you're finding peace. I miss hearing your laugh in the kitchen. No excuses, no attempt to patch over the past, just a line drawn gently where silence used to be." I folded it carefully and placed it between the pages of my notebook. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but maybe the start of something that didn't require me to be less of myself. A month passed. The texts slowed down. The calls thinned into silence. Not because they gave up, but because they didn't know what else to do. I had rewritten the script, and they no longer knew their lines. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no final confrontation. Just a slow, steady distance, like a tide pulling back. Not to drown anything, but to leave behind what didn't need saving. One morning, I got an email from a local community center. A writing workshop I'd forgotten I applied to had accepted me. They were offering me a spot. Just one evening a week. Small class. Big windows. No pressure. I almost closed the email. Then I clicked accept. It felt like saying yes to the version of me that never asked permission. The one who used to write late into the night, imagining a life where her voice mattered even if no one clapped. The first night I walked into that class, I brought my notebook, the same one with the folded receipt still hidden in the back. I didn't remove it. I just let it be there. A quiet relic of a story I didn't have to carry on my tongue anymore. We went around and introduced ourselves. When it was my turn, I simply said, "I'm not sure what I'm here to write yet, but I'm here." And that was enough. Later that week, I did something I hadn't done in years. I bought myself flowers. Not the discounted ones, not the practical ones, the ridiculous kind. Wild colors. Petals like flames. I placed them on my kitchen table, the one where I once opened a wedding invitation and folded something inside me shut. This time, I opened the window. Let the breeze come through. Let the flowers move a little. I never got the money back. There was no apology with interest. No family meeting where the truth was finally aired like laundry. But there was this. Silence. Boundaries. And the soft thud of my own heartbeat, steady and my own. I still see them, sometimes, in tagged photos, at distant events. Sometimes Ivy sends a holiday card. Sometimes she doesn't. I no longer check the mail with expectation. Only with presence. People think revenge is about damage, but sometimes it's about distance. About choosing not to show up for the role they wrote for you. About becoming a story they don't get to tell. And me, I'm not the hero. Not the villain. Just someone who finally walked out of a room no one noticed I had been holding together.